Hey everyone, I'm Julie Coraccio with Reawaken Your Brilliance. My husband and I got to see the total eclipse yesterday in South Carolina. It was a great day. I thought, let's do a video right after that great solar eclipse energy. I consider myself a life organizer, and when I work with clients, it's all about the body, mind, and spirit, and so much more. Today I want to talk about emotional clutter and children and the school year. Doesn't matter if you've just begun the school year or if you're in the middle of the school year. I know we have year-round parents out there and kids are going to school. What do I mean by emotional clutter when I'm talking about school? It's things like disappointment, not getting the lead in the play, not making the volleyball team. It's perhaps mean girls, people that aren't kind, say mean things. How do you handle when that happens? It could be a personality conflict with the teacher. Don't get me wrong, I think the majority of teachers are awesome. However, not all are. And emotional clutter could involve an issue as serious as bullying. I don't know if it's because of the internet, it just seems to be on the rise more and more. And you have parents who are doing things and things don't seem to be changing. So what I'd like to offer, I'm going to first talk a little bit about planning and then 3 tips to be aware if something's going on in your child's life creating emotional clutter. So the first thing I want to talk about is planning. Today I saw some interesting posts on Facebook, and one parent was complaining about something, and she said, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I know I will get a phone call as a result of that. So she obviously has an older child, kind of knows how the system in her area works, so part of her plan is to make a complaint on social media. I saw another parent post about a policy that's being implemented, and in my view went from 0 to 60, the first of an issue being raised, and I thought if I was a teacher or the person having to deal with that, I don't know how well I'd respond to that because it was just kind of this anger, knee-jerk reaction. If we plan, then we tend not to have a knee-jerk reaction. Or if you're someone who's shy, or it's hard to stand up for yourself or your child, or if you get overwhelmed with the thought of doing any of this, planning is something that can help. I'd encourage you first to be organized, know your teacher's phone number, email, whatever the contact way they prefer. Have an assistant principal email and phone. Principal, same all the way up to the superintendent. Hope that nothing has to go that far, but I'd encourage you to be prepared for that. As my father likes to say, if I'm prepared, it tends not to happen. And again, a lot of these things can hopefully be resolved at home, but if you have to push the ladder up, have a list of everyone that you need to talk to. I would also think about things. Are you willing to post things on social media? Some people aren't, and there's no right or wrong here, but have that as part of your plan. I'm also going to encourage you to be proactive if you can. For example, if you have a sensitive child, maybe you have a discussion with the teacher saying, when you're critical, could you just be aware that they're sensitive, and we found a way to approach the situation that he or she responds very well to. So maybe being proactive is part of your plan. How are you going to handle, and I'm going to give you 3 tips in a moment, if you have to have a conversation with your child, whether they're dealing with disappointment, whatever it is, mean girls. I believe it's very important to do this because you teach your children skills for later in life. If they learn how to handle these things, because if they don't, then it can cause problems in the future. I know someone who their parents tried to shield them from disappointment. And when they got to college, they didn't get into a club or a group or whatever it was, and they had a meltdown. They couldn't handle it. They didn't know how to deal with disappointment. And at some point in our life, we're going to have to deal with disappointment. We're going to have to deal with mean girls. The question is, do you have a meltdown? Does it stop? Or are you able to move forward? So have a plan in place. How am I going to approach this with my child? If I have a really sensitive child, they might need to be approached this way. If my child's more laid back, I'm going to approach it in a completely different way. And finally, have a support system for yourself. There are other parents that you can talk to, family or friends, and someone that you can hash ideas with. How did you handle this? How did you approach the school? So have an idea of a plan in place for you. Now here are 3 tips when dealing with the emotional clutter that might arise in school. First of all, become aware. I know that seems really simple, but I have a podcast, Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, and on that I talk a lot about awareness and taking actions. So many times we are on autopilot. If you are a busy working parent, if you have multiple children, life can get crazy, life can get hectic. Be aware and check in with your child. If they didn't make the volleyball team, they say, oh, mom, dad, it's okay. But then have they lost their appetite? Are they sleeping less? Check in with parents of the friends. Hey, have you noticed, is Sally any different? And encourage you, become more aware. And when you're talking to them, give them your undivided attention. Not right before you're rushing out the door in the morning, not right before they've got to go to bed. Take the time, carve that time out. It doesn't need to be a huge amount. Check in with them. How are they doing? Secondly, listen and acknowledge their feelings. Do not do what I call the spiritual override. And what the spiritual override is, oh, everything's okay. I'm not hurt. I talked about this on a podcast recently. I've had a lot of mean girl stuff come up. Now, I have gratitude for this because I know it's something that needs to be healed. Because when I was younger, I had a lot of mean girl stuff and didn't heal it. We didn't have Oprah. We didn't have self-help books back then. And there's such a great amount of information out there that we can deal with these things. So don't do the spiritual override. It's not the time to judge your child, blame them. Well, it's your fault they said that. Give them a lecture or tell them how they should think. Say, now is not the time for that. You can have a conversation, a deeper conversation later on, but let them cry. Let them express anger. Let them have a temper tantrum. I know that's the last thing parents like to hear, but when we have temper tantrums, we get out all that energy, all those emotions. Remember, energy is just moving emotions. So if they're able to express it, then they're most likely they won't hold on to it. They'll get it up and out and release it. So acknowledge how they feel and allow them to feel whatever they're feeling. This is also the time, and my final tip for this is to comment briefly. This is the time for your child to talk, to express how they're feelings. Encourage them and say things like, that must have been upsetting. No wonder you felt mad they wouldn't let you in the game. Or, that must have seemed unfair to you. Keep the focus, but allow them to express the feelings. Again, that's one of the best things that you can do to help them release the feelings and move forward. These are just 3 quick tips for dealing with emotional clutter. This is something I'm really passionate about. I think it's important for kids to learn the skills not only of getting organized, but dealing with mental clutter, emotional clutter. And so have a plan for the school year and how you're going to handle any challenges that might come your way with your children. If you would like a little more help, I have a class, Get Organized, Clear Clutter, Reduce Stress, and Gain Peace of Mind for the school year. You can find that on my website. And if you'd like a little more support, I'm really excited. For the first time ever, I'm offering a 30-day Facebook Mastermind. You get the class, live group coaching sessions, and 30 days of Facebook support. You can find more information about that, and I'll click on the link below. All right, everyone, here's to a wonderful school year, no matter where you are. Go out, clear the clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire.